Great question. Contrary to popular belief, and I was just showing these guys earlier, from 2005 to 2015, I was one of the earliest adopters of the use of zirconia in the UK. And zirconia has been used in full arch work for no more than 15 years, okay, because that's how long the material's been available. And my problem with zirconia is its very unpredictable nature of processing. And I know this because I used to process them and I used to cut them in half and then look at them in an electron microscope, under an electron microscope. And I used to notice that they weren't fully baked. So the way zirconia works is you get it in a disc, it's a powder, and you cut the shape out of it, and then you need to bake it in an oven with something like 2 degree or 3 degree increments every minute, up to 17 degrees in temperature up to 1700 degrees in temperature, and then come back down again to room temperature. And that cycle normally took anywhere from 11 up to 18 hours. And you'd notice something. You could never, ever be sure that it was fully baked.
Yeah.
Now, the companies will make all kinds of claims and they'll tell you that it never breaks and all that. Well, the clinical papers, which are readily available on Google, so you can Google it, and you can read clinical papers where they talk about instances of fracture and failure in zirconia. Apart from the material itself, my other problem is it's just too damn common. And the problem with anything being that hard is it doesn't mute the shock of chewing. So in our natural teeth, for example, all our natural teeth sit in an elastic pocket in bone. That elastic connection is called the periodontal ligament. And when we have gum disease, which is called periodontal disease, what we lose is that ligament. And the reason that nature has that ligament is to act as a shock absorber to dampen the force of chewing before it gets to bone. With implants, there is no shock absorber. Combined with that, if you put on top of it something more solid than a brick, like zirconia, then all the shock is transmitted to the bone. And there are papers that talk about the shock of this. And, you know, for people who do maybe 10, 20 of these a year, they might not notice. But with people who do hundreds or thousands a year, you will notice. And from 2005 to 2015, I extensively researched the use of zirconia. I can tell you, I put it into probably just under 200 patients. And I told them in the beginning, I said, this is a new material. I am not buying the rubbish that's being peddled by the manufacturers. So I'm going to have this other thing on standby for you. And in 2015, when I introduced Titanium PMMA, which isn't PMMA, by the way, so it's a sandwich of two materials, I changed all of them to Titanium PMMA because I wasn't happy with what I was seeing at bone level for these people. So we've got another measurement that you can Google called marginal bone loss. Marginal bone loss around implants. In a healthy implant, marginal bone loss should be 1 millimeter a decade. What that means is if I put a 10 millimeter implant in, I should lose that implant in a healthy mouth in about 100 years. Whereas if I see marginal bone loss of 3 or 4 millimeters in a decade, then I have to ask myself a question. Is it the prosthetic that's causing the problem? In my view, yes, which is why I will not use zirconia. Not unless they develop a zirconia which they can prove to me has got an inbuilt shock absorber at molecular level, which I know they can't. No, we won't use it. I am not going to put any claim of aesthetics above and beyond clinical performance. It's not going to happen, not in 21D.